Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Gods and Monsters by E. King, read by me, E. King. Each week, MetaStellar releases a new episode of Gods and Monsters, both in print and on audio YouTube. Thank you for joining us. And now, this week's episode. Episode 41, The Color of Empathy. Last week, Jeremy took Beethoven to San Francisco and began work as a street magician. And now, chapter 127, Jeremy, San Francisco, 1879, Le Club de Magie. One night, while performing at Le Club de Magie, Jeremy sees a woman in the audience. She shines like the evening star, dimming the room around her. Her eyes are the deep, dark blue of a fathomless ocean. Her hair is gold, and her skin so fair she might never have seen the light of day. She has, but it was a long, long time ago. Jasmine is ashen, lovely, and very, very old. She had been one of the first to arrive at San Francisco, emigrating from Europe in 1848. Most vampires lack the stamina to live so long. For immortals, vampires are fragile things. Not only are they at the mercy of sun, werewolves, and stakes, they are still part human, some more than others. Many still long for love and pity the slain. Many feel horror at the shells of the bodies they have sucked dry. Most are alone and lonely. Jasmine's not like those. She's calculating and attached, made to be a predator. She enjoys watching Jeremy. He's not a very good magician, but his enthusiasm is contagious. Even Jasmine, not prey to human emotions, finds him charming. She wants him. She's curious to see him metamorphosize, to lose his life, yet keep his youth, to retain the elasticity and shed the ingenue. She begins to visit Les Magies on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays when he warms up the crowd before the big magic. Jasmine never stays for the main attraction. Faux magic bores her. After 2 weeks of visits, Jeremy nods. She's so beautiful. She takes his breath away. She nods back, beckoning. When he follows her into the night, she disappears. But the next night, she's there again. Chapter 128, Gabrielle, San Francisco, 1992, The Color of Empathy. Gabriel passes a junk shop daily on his way to Mike's. When he walks by the window, busted blenders grind and broken vacuums grumble. The junk shop man notices that at certain times of day, a cold shadow seems to fall across his soul and all of his defective appliances come alive. He's grateful, yet dreads that unknown hour when even on the hottest days, his shop grows cold and death seems tangible. Gabriel buys a cell phone and an answering machine. When he records his voice, soft shadows hiss in the background like rattlers' tongues. His voice is almost obscured by their vibrations. Not that it matters. He has no one to call, no one to call him. It's just that he enjoys the sleek, uncompromising lines of the machines, their lack of color and complexity. He's exhausted by dreams where it is always sunset. The sky is alive, mixing and blending in a glorious symphony. Hues merge and blend as if there were no restrictions, no hard lines separating dark from light. Silhouettes of birds fly overhead like living clouds. In dreams, his world is no longer divided, no longer separate, no longer apart. Yet still, he lacks the color that will make him whole, the color of empathy. Chapter 129, Jeremy, San Francisco, 1880, an unsuccessful changeling. One night, walking home late, Beethoven at his side, Jeremy feels two small pricks in the side of his neck. His insides swirl, wild as waves beating against the rock cliffs. He gasps for breath, but he has no breath. All is darkness. All is still. And then comes a hunger so painful, so vast, it seems that a tiny vicious animal is eating him from within. Something hot and wet, warm and liquid is pressed into his mouth. As he struggles for air, the liquid flows into him. He gags. He craves it, yet it revolts him. Even then, not knowing what he drinks, his stomach turns. He throws up, dry, gasping heaves, splattering small droplets of blood against unseen darkness. Jasmine sighs. Lie still, she says, pressing her wrist firmly onto his mouth. Slowly, slowly, the heavy fluid fills him. He blinks awake, panting. He would cry, but there are no tears in him. He's in a cellar, deep beneath an abandoned house. Beethoven crouches in the corner, hissing like the wild creature that all cats in their souls remain. Beethoven, Jeremy cries, holding out his arms. Here, Bee, come here. But Beethoven will not. Jeremy no longer needs to fiddle to make insects fall from the sky. Birds and bugs drop lifeless to the ground like winged falling stars when vampires are about. True, Jeremy can no longer to return them to life, but that's not what disturbs Beethoven. As cats sense earthquake, storms, and emotion, they sense death. And like most living creatures, they fear it. If Jeremy had not had the lightning flash reflexes of a vampire, he'd never have caught Beethoven in his arms. The cat scratches and struggles, even though Jeremy speaks soothingly to him. As Beethoven drags scythed claws across Jeremy's white hand, leaving 3 red tracks, Jeremy bites. The cat grows limp in his arms. He forces his bleeding hand into the cat's mouth. Beethoven chokes. He writhes and twists as his organs melt and reform. He howls. His canines lengthen. His pupils contract. These changes never work out well, Jasmine says, watching Beethoven struggle and shriek. Beethoven twists out of Jeremy's arms and disappears yowling into the night. Bee, Jeremy calls, but Beethoven has vanished. Soon, the neighborhood is empty of cats. None can resist the lure of the sleek black cat that waits for them in the night. Even the tamest tabby or the calmest calico will claw through a screen or wriggle through a casement, desperate to reach their end. Chapter 130, Gabrielle, San Francisco, 1986, Infinite Variety. Gabrielle sees a world of subtlety. Light and shadow alter everything. Shadows of umber and indigo give depth and texture. Light make fronds top silver blue. A single leaf holds an infinite variety of green. Edges are no longer clear. Borders are no longer sharp. Birds sing outside. Gabriel should not be able to hear them through his window. He should be isolated from life and the confusion beyond the pain. But somehow trills, coos, whistles, and warbles carol into the room, knocking him off balance. This domain of color and light, harmony and refrain makes him feel alien. Gabriel has always lived completely in the present, never remembering the past or contemplating the future. He is the never ending now, a Buddhist's ideal, a Christian's nightmare. He's outside of time, but now inchoate memories waft through his consciousness. He's never thought about his lack of parentage, never wondered. He has been without sorrow or joy, but like smoke curling around a door, tendrils of emotion have begun to coil around his heart. It's like warm wind, an odd sensation. He wants to feel more, and he wants not to feel at all. He yearns to be connected to the infinite variety and craves the comfort of black and white. There is safety in isolation. In a prison cell, there are no epidemics. Across soft diversity lurks danger as well as charm. Unknown vistas wait around the bend, concealing unimagined colors, unborn harmonies, and perhaps monsters. He turns on the radio, hoping and fearing that the song he hears will be sweet as birdsong. Perhaps fate is malleable. Perhaps roles can be recast. But the music is flat and slow. Emptiness is replaced with rage. Why let me hear what I can only ruin? Why let me feel what I can only destroy? He pulls at the window. It is sealed, not meant to be lifted, but it glides open at his touch. A pigeon, trying to nest on the ledge, tumbles lifeless down 13 stories. Gabriel smiles. 131. Jeremy, San Francisco, 1880. Solitary sonatas. Jeremy is not a successful changeling. His feelings are too human. He misses Beethoven. He tries playing his violin, hoping that familiar chords might call him back. Jeremy's music waves into the night, containing sorrows older than time and stronger than death. It vibrates inside of souls. Small nocturnal animals are drawn to him, pulled by his music, repelled by his being. He's been turned inside out, an assassin Orpheus, a musical murderer. Bats circle low, plucking stunned insects out of the air before they hit the ground. Bats, such a cliche, Jasmine sighs. She stalks off into the night, fangs lengthening. Nevertheless, she returns that night and the next. She stays for 6 months, her longest relationship in almost forever. One night, however, she does not return. For 8 years, Jeremy wanders the streets of San Francisco, driven by hunger and memory. He's alone and very, very lonely. Sometimes he sees signs of Beethoven, a cat's tail or paw, forgotten like an old shoe. Beethoven does not merely drain his victims, he eviscerates them. When there are no more cats, he moves on to dogs. and babies, climbing the food chain with grisly effect. Children disappear, never to be seen again. Only Jeremy or some other nocturnal being occasionally notices the end of a finger or a toe discarded in some forgotten alley. Vampires have no hearts, so it is peculiar that Jeremy can feel his breaking. Not only has he lost Beethoven, he has created a monster. Chapter 132, Gabrielle, San Francisco, 1987. Gabrielle's tinkering with messages on his answering machine. He wants it to play birdsong, but every tune morphs into a dirge. It's the only time he hasn't been able to control something mechanical. It's the only time he has ever tried to thwart his fate. If Gabrielle were more human, he might have gotten a new tape player. He might have returned it to the store or traded it in for a new one. He might even have flung the sleek black box across the room. But if he were more human, he would not be having such problems. Instead, he sighs and lights a lavender cigarette, slowly exhaling violet gray rings around his orchids. His bulbophyllum dangles four striped petals like gloved tapering fingers. A fifth, which smells like rotting flesh to attract flies, rises from its open mouth. Gabriel doesn't mind. He's never been, and still is not, a creature of senses. He's the ultimate observer. Feelings and music have infiltrated his dreams. He's not sure it's a change for the better. Joy and pain, two sides of one coin, and he might be better off without either. Gabriel smiles as he hears the faint click of the bulbophyllum snapping shut. The flower has hinged lips that trap hungry flies inside so that a pollen sac can be secured to the fly's back. Some never make it out alive. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week when, one night, Jeremy sees a woman pirouetting along the cobbles, light as a mystery, carefree as a dream. Her dance calls to Jeremy, a breeze across the sea of loneliness. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.